Hello and welcome to the Bridge of Love. My name is Erin Cameron. Welcome to season 3. We've made it, this is the third year that I've been doing this. So I can't believe it's been that long, but it has. And welcome back if you have been following me for a while. And if you're new, welcome as well. We're glad to have you. The first episode of season 3 is called Our Infinite Nature, and I'll explain more about that in a little bit, in a minute. The Bridge of Love is my nonverbal communication with my daughter, Hadden, who is nonverbal and a very special person in my life, and who has guided me through that connection through a lot of things and into a place that I never imagined, and a perspective that I never imagined really even existed. I think part of me knew, and that's why I started tuning into her on the soul level. And it's just turned into a whole lot more than I ever imagined, in terms of everything that I've learned, everything that it's led to, and just how life feels in general has completely changed, shifted, um, been transformed, and it's something I never would have imagined this life with her to be. I think I saw moments of it when she was very young, and those were the times that guided me to the point of really what else is there, and tuning in very intentionally to the soul level of her, and expanding our relationship in that way. So that is what the Bridge of Love is. It's that nonverbal connection. We teach others how to communicate nonverbally and telepathically. And if you're interested in that, you can check out our Soul Speak course. We'll be doing that again in the fall. I also, before I start, wanted to mention a new channeled series that I'm doing that starts in a little less than a week, Thursday, April 30th, I believe. And I'm going to have one session every 2 weeks, and these are free to attend. They are me channeling Hadden, and on a specific topic. I got all the topics from her a couple weeks ago. Kind of came out of nowhere, and I was like, okay, what are we doing? And I tuned in and got all of it, as the topics that she thought were important now. So we're going to hold sessions. These are channeled energy sessions, and I will discuss the topic and then tune into Hadden to expand upon it with a channeled message, which are highly energetic and super fun. And if you want to see any of those, they're on my YouTube channel as well, and within some of the podcast episodes before this one. So we're going to hold those every 2 weeks for about 3 months, and they are free to attend. The entire session is called Embody the New Earth Frequency Now. That is what a lot of this season, I believe, is going to be about. And it just is, it's been a really strong theme since the end of last year for me and for Hadden, and in her messages as well. So we're going to guide you through the embodiment process and some very specific topics within it. And you can find all of that information. I'll put a link below wherever you're listening or watching. And it's essentially a Zoom sign-up link, and you need to register one time, and you can attend as many as you'd like. Free to attend, and then with the option of choosing your own energetic exchange on the day of each message and each session. So let me know if you have any questions about that. But you do need to register if you want to attend, and invite anyone that you think might be interested. So, our infinite nature. This came through as I was reflecting on um, Hadden's surgery that she had in December, early December. She had an orthopedic procedure that ended up being like 4 or 5 hours. And I basically, I felt pretty good about it when she went in. And generally, this whole lifestyle of tuning in to the higher perspective keeps me pretty balanced, but I do have a very real human experience of um, life with her. And, we had about 4 or 5 hours to kill, and we are just walking all around Palo Alto. I think we walked around the entire town, her dad and I. Um, and in that, we were at a mall, like this outdoor, the malls in California are outdoor, a lot of them. And so I'm outside at this shopping mall, and we'd been walking around for a while. I think we had stopped and gotten coffee and then gone in huge shops and then driven over to the mall to go to more shops and just walk around more. And at this point, I was like, okay, I really want to check in with her. And so I did. We're literally in the middle of a super busy, I guess it was like probably around lunchtime, um, Thursday at the mall. I guess it wasn't super busy, but it was fairly loud. So I remember lots of music, lots of people walking by, and I was like, I'm doing this. I just sat down on a bench in the middle of the mall and, asked her dad, like, okay, can I have a minute? um, it was a little bit of a different way that normally, and if you've watched this podcast before, a lot of what I bring through is the wisdom from the messages that I receive from Haddon when I verbal channel her or do automatic writing, and that message comes through and I've written it out, and um, all verbal, and this was different because and it's why I wanted to bring it up as well. It was I use the same process for tuning into her as I do when I channel. And I'll just kind of go through what happened. Um, I'm sitting there and I tune in, and I pictured her in the hospital room, in the operating room. I pictured her on the table, and I just kind of went there with her. And I've done that before. I've done that when other times she's been in other places, either at another house or in the hospital for something else, and I'm at home. I tuned into her that way. I like to just sort of be wherever she is and be with her, and then I would get, the message. And this time, because I was very clear I didn't want to verbal channel her in the middle of the mall. So I knew I wasn't going to get whatever I was going to get wasn't going to come through verbally. And so I just tuned in, and essentially I was checking in. Just just give me an update. How are things, I wanted to really feel um I wanted to check in with her. That was just it. And get some perspective on where things were that day or how to feel about it or whatever, right? Well, um so I tuned into her and I could I sensed her energy. It was almost like I had this image of her. um she was over the entire experience. it was like her body, and then her energy was overlooking the entire operation. Her energy was with the people operating on her. It was over the hospital room. She was, and then it was almost like, to the extent that I could perceive, she was there. So it ended up being, I was perceiving her energetically and as her soul just everywhere, over the whole hospital room, the whole hospital, the whole town. It literally became that kind of, um, that's what I got. And I was like, wow, she's huge. Like, she's everywhere. And in that, it was like, again, not words, but the idea of like, I've got this. I have so got this. Like, I've got it handled. There was this, she was overseeing the whole thing, is sort of the image that I got, and the situation that I was hanging out in with her. And so I was no longer just with her human body, I was with all of her. And to experience all of her in that way, I do that when I channel, and I love that. I can feel the energy and it comes through as I'm talking. This was more focused on the energy itself because I didn't have the words, maybe because I wasn't distracted. And stuff was coming in in words, just not in the same way as verbally. It was more just the idea and the knowing and the feeling of like, she's got this. And almost the other thing that came through, and I also had like no fear, no worry. Literally, it was, I came out of it and going, oh, it it would be actually ridiculous. That's what I got from her. Like, ridiculous to worry and have any fear about what she was going through with that operation. And that just everything that your mind is going to worry about, right? It just didn't exist in that space. It wasn't, it was to the point of like, why would you ever worry? It would be absolutely ridiculous for you to worry when I've got this, my soul, and that it's connected to everything. This is all what was coming through and what I was experiencing as I hung out with her soul. And it's really the first time that I've experienced her in that way. And I think it's because that's what she wanted to get through to me, was um, that she had it under control. Control is probably not the right word, but she was over all of this. She's like, I've so got this beyond whatever you think getting it is, like beyond. And that was the other thing that I couldn't even, and as you can tell, even now, I'm having a hard time putting it into words, but even afterward, there weren't words for some of the things that I knew from her. Like the level of you should not worry and the level of I got this. Uh, it it was hard to describe, but I came away with it feeling and knowing all that, and I was like, okay, like, geez, she totally, she laid it down, like, and so I think that's what she was trying to get across, is the magnitude of her soul, and the biggest thing that I came away with was how powerful she was. I actually felt it and I experienced it and I perceived it. Um, and, if I physically could feel it, um, and if you channel, it's the same kind of, feeling the energy flowing through you. But there was this sort of experience of her that I could feel how big and powerful she was. And this is not something I expected, like, at all. This is just happening. And I probably tuned into her for 5 or 10 minutes. Like, once you're in that connection, it doesn't take long to get all of this. Um, so that's the biggest thing that I got, was just how powerful uh, she is and how much I really should not be worrying at all. And I think what this points out is that these kids, well, for one, we are all this powerful. That was the first thing that I was like, this is what we all are. Um, and I really felt like, as I was reflecting on this, it was that it goes back to that concept of divine ability. Their ability to be more connected to their soul or live from their soul is sort of God-given, designed on purpose. It's the way they designed themselves physically. That connection is just more clear. It is what they're functioning from. They're not using their brain, they're functioning from higher consciousness. And what I got in this experience was um, that's also how they get through the world. Like their soul, the way they're designed, they're not blocking that power is kind of what came to me when I was reflecting on this whole experience. The way they're designed, they're not blocking that power, the full power of themselves with their thoughts or their choices like we might do. Like that's free will, right? Um, and I think we can all learn from that. That um, we are all this infinite um, nature and this powerful. It was just the experience was that I was aware of that power and what it's there for. It's protecting us, it's guiding us. It's kind of it's overseeing our lives. And but it also is us. Like it wasn't separate from her body. It wasn't like her soul's here and her body's here. It was like I was focusing on her body and then all of a sudden the focus became something much bigger. And it wasn't like I was watching her body from her energy and they were separate. It was like, no, this is really who I am and what I am, and my energy's got all of this. And I think we're all that powerful, is my point. And also, um, I think that's sort of the lesson here is that they come into this world with what we would consider, when we think about it with our mind, fairly limited circumstances, limited physical ability, limited mental abilities, and what we would consider from the outside a really pretty difficult life, right? And that's how disability is perceived, I think, and how I always thought about it. But then and the thing that led me down this path is that feeling that like, okay, yeah, what I think about disability and what I know about it is the limitation. But then why do I experience my kid as so freaking awesome? And what is that? What is that? And what is she bringing to this world? Because I know it's something important. Because I can feel it and I experienced it. And I wanted to know what that was and I wanted to focus on it. I wanted to experience it and I wanted to be part of our lives and I wanted it to be known. So my point is that they came here designed a certain way, and that design is actually what is allowing their soul to sort of get them through. It's creating their whole life is essentially guided by their energy. Ours is too. Um, but we have more resistance around how much of that we allow. And my point is that they are able to get through really difficult lives and have, I mean, essentially Hadden has round the clock care. And she's not like, okay, guys, I need, this. And she's not telling people ever, what she needs and when. But she came here unable to move or speak a word and has always been taken care of. That's power, right? But that's what we all are. We all probably run around worried way too much about how things are going to work out and what lies ahead, and worried about the future, or how is this certain thing going to work out for me, or like she doesn't do that, and her whole life it just is, and she's here experiencing it all on a level that I think because she doesn't have any of those concerns that we do, and because she's allowing the energy of her soul, everything's taken care of, is my point, including, huge surgeries, right? That was my experience. It was like, I'm all over this. You don't need to worry about it. And if you did, it would be ridiculous. Um, and almost like for you to ever worry about anything with me. Like, okay, thanks. So that was, and the other part of that story that I found really interesting is I was tuning into her in a way that I always do when I channel. I use the same process. I close my eyes. I'm breathing. I'm going into my heart and focusing there. And a lot of similar things happen. Like a lot of times I'll yawn. Like if my energy is not ready yet, if I'm not ready to connect, I'll sometimes do like, I'll start yawning. I'll yawn a number of times, and that will move the energy through and it's just something that happens with me. And I know it because it's just my pattern, and it doesn't happen every time I tune in, but a lot of, it's a thing, and it was happening. So I was like, oh, I'm yawning. Like, okay, I must be getting into channel. So it's like I'm in the middle of a mall. This is not where I would normally do this, but I was aware of a few different things that happened, that always happen, or happen a lot and very often when I channel verbally, which made me, I just knew when I came out that I was fully there with her and I was fully in channel. And the other thing that happened was my eyes watered, and they kept watering during, and that's a really common thing for me. It has something to do with the energy that you're connecting, the level you're connecting on, and the energy that's coming through from that level makes my eyes water. And that's, and it happens a lot. It's part of how I know I'm in channel. It's just, I don't know. Now it is, it's fun. And so I had a few indicators like that I came out and I was like, oh, wow. I know I'm sitting in a loud, area, and this is not my norm, but I was fully there. In channel, but in a different way. And yeah, it was an awesome experience. And I wanted to share it because the main thing I came away with was how big she is and how powerful she is. And, I'm the same mom that had experiences with her as a young child and a baby that were terrifying. Because I just didn't know why we had to go through some of these things when she got her G tube put in. Um, and actually, just things like that are like irreversible, things that she had to get done, that it's like, well, God, if we're doing this, like, um, this is it was just a very real time. And I remember these moments of being like, why? This is terrible. Like, why is this happening? So I'm that same mom. And I remember the level of sort of the fear and misunderstanding around. I just was like, I don't get any of this. This is not what I thought was going to happen when I had a baby. And it just keeps happening. And it's just still super confusing. And what the heck? Like on huge levels of what the heck. And so I'm that same person, and I don't hold that stuff anymore, because of the gift of being able to connect to her on this level. And this was just a real palpable experience of connecting with her and her energy and her soul. And I think that it's just helpful to know how powerful they are when you're considering all of a kid, all of a person. They're not just their physical body. And while they may have chosen or be going through a life that we consider really difficult or something, what no one would really choose, knowing them as powerful, knowing her as that powerful and that protected, it just really helps me. And I hope that that's why I wanted to share it, is I hope that perspective sinks in somewhere, and you can experience that somewhere in your life as well. So I think it's important to, really feel into that knowing of that power within your child and that power within yourself, and how much are you allowing it to guide you, to serve you, to protect you, because it is, as much as you allow it to. And I think that is part of their divine ability, is that allowing. And we don't think of things in, sort of the third dimension as allowing being a very powerful thing, but it is when you start thinking about it from that higher perspective and from the higher dimensions of consciousness. So that is my experience of our infinite nature. And I hope you enjoyed that. So just a reminder, if you would like to join me in a little less than a week, Thursday, April 30th, and I think I'm doing these at 11 a.m. Pacific time for the Embody the New Earth Frequency Now.